Hoax and deception, the opposition's reply to the 2015 budget. Planning Minister defends the 2015 budget. And businesses say no to violence against women.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. This is Tuesday's news. Our story is on the 2015 budget and the opposition's reply later on in the bulletin. But first, today is White Ribbon Day, which commemorates the call to end all forms of violence against women. And today, business houses in the nation's capital joined hands to stop violence against women in the country. Individual leaders from various business organizations spoke on practical experiences and actions taken in their area of influence to combat gender-based violence.
Violence against women and girls is not something new in the country. Papua New Guinea has some of the worst cases. Business organizations came together today to raise awareness on how they address violence against women at work and what more they could do to help women in the country. Coalition for Change PNG, in collaboration with Business Coalition for Women, brought together these business houses to not only strengthen their support, but to also honor those who lost their lives through violence and those facing violence. Lesieli Taviri, chairperson of Business Coalition for Women, said the impact that violence has on women has also affected their performance at work.
How can the economy grow if businesses are not growing to provide more opportunities for people? How will PNG advance? The most important thing to realize is that businesses can make a difference. Publicly identifying gender-based violence as a workplace issue is a critical first step.
Reverend Sarai Maloma, Secretary of the Anglican Diocese of Polynesia, said violence against women is the worst form of crime a person can commit, yet women in the Pacific experience violence every day.
Latest reports from the region support this. Amnesty International reported that 60 to 70% of women and girls in the Pacific experience violence by an intimate partner or family member. This is one of the highest percentages in the world.
Many women die from violence and many more live with it. The message for the country today is to take a stand and stop violence against women. Judith Kasek, National EMTV News.
In one day, 15 to 20 cases on violence against women are recorded at the Geruhu police station in the nation's capital. However, through joint efforts from the UN Women's Safe Cities Project and the National Capital District Commission, this can be reduced. A successful celebration was hosted by UN Women and its partners today to observe the International Day of Violence Against Women.
And by helping you plan.
The rate of violence against women in PNG can be reduced, and it starts with you. This was the theme for the 2014 International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women. The day was observed in Port Moresby with the aim to end violence for a safer PNG. In a small but significant ceremony, men, women and children wore orange as an international campaign to say no to violence against women. The day provided women who are victims of violence to speak up and ask for respect from men in their communities. Some of these women were verbally, physically or sexually abused by their husbands, fathers or brothers. Most men, including members from the Australian Federal Police, dressed in orange Mary blouses and walked from one end of the market to the other, while children drew with chalk on the pavements to show their support to say no to violence against women. Meanwhile, those who are silently suffering from any form of violence are encouraged to speak to someone they trust so they can be given proper help and counseling. City Pharmacy Limited has also been providing safer venues for women through its Safe Mary Centers. Teklagunga, National EMTV News.
Relatives of the two brothers alleged to have been killed in a hit-and-run incident in Papua a month ago burnt down several houses at Giroa yesterday. The relatives retaliated after police apprehended the elder brother of the deceased and detained him at the Papua police cell. It's been a month since the two brothers were killed, and their families are still awaiting an investigation report from the police. They said the post-mortem has been done and police have to come clean on their findings to put a closure to this ordeal. The funeral service of the deceased will be held on Thursday, with the burial to follow suit. Community Development Minister Delilah Gore has appealed to all state agencies, stakeholders and individuals to join the awareness drive on violence against women. Minister Gore made the appeal at the International Day on the Elimination of Violence Against Women in Port Moresby.
Minister Gore said violence against women is experienced throughout the world. In PNG, it has increased, occurring mainly in households and communities. Women are vulnerable to torture, rape and murder.
Women are not free to move around on the street, and anybody can just come in and attack a woman.
While sharing sympathy with victims, the minister said tougher penalties must be imposed for perpetrators.
We want to set up a council where everybody talk about violence against women and children. So this council, if we follow the same structure as the HIV/AIDS, it will work. It will reach right down to the communities, and we will have people living in communities where they will speak against violence.
The national government is serious about this issue, and Minister Gore has pushed for the Family Protection Bill to be passed in Parliament and the endorsement of the Gender-Based Council. This is to scrutinize any form of gender-based violence in the country. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
Police have apprehended one of the main suspects in the robbery and killing of a security guard at Gerehu's Bismillah shop in Port Moresby last fortnight. The suspect was picked up last week by police following a tip-off from the public. He is now in police custody. The security guard was killed with a single gunshot to his chest when he tried to stop robbers from escaping during the hold-up on the 10th of November. The general public is also encouraged to provide police with information that may lead to more arrests. Police are confident more arrests will be made soon. The last 10 days have been hectic following the death of Constable Clifford Yembeningi and the closure of Gordon's Market in Port Moresby. The death of the police officer sparked an outcry from city residents, including Yanguru Sausia MP Richard Maru, to have the market permanently shut down. Yesterday, the market was reopened by NCD Governor Pauus Pakop in what he described the hardest decision his office had to make. The governor said the reopening of the market is because he trusts city residents can change. The reopening of the market will relieve a large population of market vendors in the city. However, the market will now come under high security with certain conditions for market vendors and the informal sector of Gordon's Market to meet. MTV's Stanley Over Jr. with tonight's MTV News special report.
The murder of probation constable Clifford Yembeningi here in the nation's capital at Gordon's Market on the 13th of November has made life hard for city residents, including market vendors, over the past 10 days. Police had to force close the market and the bus stops had to be moved to Unagi Oval. The death of Officer Yembeningi, who was from East Sepik Province, also gained attention at the political level. Last week, Monday, concerned Government Minister Richard Maru described the market as a haven for criminals and an eyesore to the image of Port Moresby.
We cannot continue to lose lives at Gordon's Market because of thugs that operate there and make their living. As a responsible government, I call on the governor and the government to support my call, and the police union and the police hierarchy to support my call and the call of the Yangososa people for this market now to be permanently closed.
The minister was appealing to NCD Governor Pauus Pakop to permanently close the market. He also called on the governor to have the market relocated away from settlements near the Gordons area. However, yesterday the market was reopened in what Governor Pakop described as a decision that will question his office.
Plan the press icon, public talk, member of the Young Associate to it, Law NEC2, Prime Minister talking me also online National Executive too, only discussing this market blame. Pressure is still the Prime Minister to law, putting pressure on me, especially on me as a governor, city manager, or shutting down market. But today, me not talking about me was resisting this when I'm call along shutting down market.
Governor Parkop said he wants the market to be like what it used to be before. He said the reopening of the market is a sign of trust he has in the people to change.
But me can believe now, faith us, and we can change this around. And we can make the market a better place.
Moreover, the market will now come under tight security from the police, including contracted security firms. Also, the number of police officers patrolling the market will increase. As Goren's police station commander, Mark Mosinakave, described, all corners of the market will be monitored by police.
We will be setting up tents here. So there will be 4 tents set up, one at 7 and 15 bus stop, another one here at 17, 13, 4 bus stop, and another one here at the informal area, and another one down at Erima bus stop.
Despite the reopening of the market that will again benefit a large population of market vendors in the city, the market still needs another general facelift. Its roads are impassable and the cleanliness of the market needs major improvement.
Market anytime, I think by January or by February, you may by start building another market. And when we build a new market, time when we open, informal sector, you buy that space for you.
For the time being, the informal sector of the market will be relocated to Hoholas Lareva Market or Boroko Market in coming days. But for now, market vendors selling fresh garden produce will use the reopened market. The bus stop will remain at Unagi Oval with police providing security. It is understood that a new wing of the refurbished market will be named after the late officer Yembi Ningi.
And we make a commitment to time when we have Nupla market come up, one bla win blow the market, by you naming after the constable. So by can reminding me, by can reminding me of his loss and reminding me of the promise and commitment that now you be making today, number 24th of November 2014.
Stanley Ove Jr., National EMTV News.
Now to an update of the PNG Games, we cross over to Lorraine Genia in Lae.
Thank you, Mariba. With just 4 more days to go before the closing ceremony, the fight is on for the top spot in these games. Now today, the finals of kickboxing with hundreds gathering as early as 8 a.m. for a spot in the Sir Ignatius Kilaga Stadium. East Sepik and Team Arab have remained the strongest contenders in the finals, and in netball, an experienced Central side ran over a younger Millen Bay outfit. Mariba.
Lorraine, let me ask the obvious question. Who is leading the medal tally?
Thanks, Mary. But now Central Province still maintains its lead with 32 gold, 22 silver and 12 bronze. NCT is holding on to the second spot with 27 gold, 30 silver and 23 bronze. AROB is maintaining third place with 22 gold, 12 silver and 23 bronze. And host Marbe with 17 gold, 17 silver and 10 bronze, a total of 44 medals so far. Now we'll be back with more updates in Trukai Sports. Mariba.
Thanks, Lorraine. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, the opposition's reply to the 2015 budget. You're watching National EMTV News. Welcome back. You're watching National EMTV News. Local level government leaders in Morobe say the cutback to funding will have severe impacts on development in rural areas. Morobe's Deputy Governor, Judas Nalau, today held a news conference calling on the government to rethink its decision in the 2015 budget. Nalau says rural districts like Kabum and Menyamya will be hit hard by these cuts.
The
Morobe Provincial Executive Council, LLG presidents and councillors say reducing LLG funding is just like removing life support from a patient. Their projects were drawn from a bottom-up plan, and the decision is also a slap in the face for the third-level government. They want the national government to give a reasonable answer to the decision, and the motives should not be politically driven.
Being a legitimate form of government, we think some LLG should get direct funding from the national government through the LNG SIP. Me looking speech belong treasurer me long me now must they didn't give any promise to the reduction. They didn't even say anything. All just mentioned to 100,000. Effect belong LNG SIP LLG speaks for itself.
Since the introduction of the LLG SIP funding in 2013, many impact projects were undergone at the ward level. Classrooms, health centers and feeder roads have been constructed, and there were plans for many more projects. However, they say the decision will affect the flow of basic service delivery into some of the most remote parts in the country.
The LNG SIP go down right to the roots, the people on the ground now.
Be considerate and get the government to reconsider its stand again.
The LLG presidents have also called on the local MPs to work closely with the Morobe Governor Kelly Naro and the PEC in bringing impact projects into remote villages. Meanwhile, the Morobe Governor has also committed to give its LLG 400,000 kina hits from the provincial government to do impact projects. Sylvester Gawi, National EMTV News, Leh.
The Papua New Guinea Electoral Commission has been forced to revise its existing work plans due to budget cuts in the 2015 national budget. Some programs that may not be implemented include the Electoral Roll Improvement Program and Photo Electoral Roll Program. This was revealed by Electoral Commissioner Andrew Trowen when opening a 3-day workshop for election managers in Port Moresby.
Commissioner Trowen told the election managers that budget cuts could spell disaster for the Commission because apart from the programs to be implemented, the Commission has outstanding debts to repay. PNGEC has budgeted 23 million kina to offset its legal bills, but no funding was appropriated. It has been forced to do part payments. These bills include new and outstanding ones from 2012 to 2014 national elections. The Commission was appropriated 36.2 million kina for the recurrent budget, a reduction of 800,000 kina from the 37 million kina appropriated in 2014. It was not given any allocation for its development budget, the same story as 2014. The Commission requested 48.9 million kina for its development budget to carry out the Electoral Roll Improvement Program and the Photo Electoral Roll Program. However, no funding was allocated. Another national project that got no funding is the Boundaries Review Program. The Electoral Boundaries Commission has prepared the review program and is awaiting government funding of 19.8 million kina. With all the budget cuts, Commissioner Trowen has urged all election managers to revise their work plans and work within their budget. Bridget Komatep, National EMTV News.
Parliament today voted 66 to 18 in favour of a new bill, the District Development Authorities Bill 2014. Although it had majority support, a number of provincial governors expressed concern that it would take away the power of governors. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said the new authority is not a legislative arm of government. Rather, its role is to assist in bringing more services down to the districts.
District development authorities replaced the current Joint District Planning and Budget Priority Committee. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said JDP BPCs have outgrown themselves, hence the district development authorities. In February, the Parliament passed an amendment to the Organic Law on Provincial Governments and Local Level Governments, which abolished JDP BPCs and created a new statutory authority in each district called the District Development Authority. The Prime Minister said the new bill provides the details for the operation of new district development authorities. There will be one established in each district. Mr. O'Neill said an important change is the increase in accountability. The authority will be required to submit a budget to the Treasurer and quarterly reports to the provincial government. Mr. O'Neill stressed that the new bill is not a legislative arm of government and has no legislative powers to pass any laws whatsoever. He assured that as a responsible government, funds that are going to the districts will be managed in the interest of our people. Delhi Bagu, National EMTV News.
The 2015 national budget and 2014 supplementary budget have been described as a hoax. Shadow Treasurer and Kandep MP Don Pollier, in his budget response, told the House to recall the budget as there were discrepancies in the original budget books as well as the revised one. Mr. Pollier said much of the money was allocated to only certain areas of the country. He said the two main areas were NCD roads and the 2015 Pacific Games. Mr. Pollier called on Parliament for its support in having the budget recalled.
Mr. Speaker, this budget, these two budgets, the supplementary and the budget proper for 2015, they meet all the criteria. If you will say, if there was a criteria for a budget to be failed, this budget, both of them, they definitely pass because they meet all the criteria for failing this budget. We should not pass this budget. It should go back for redoing. Mr. Speaker, if honourable members of Parliament do not understand the technical details of the economic perspective of both budgets the opposition has given, then common sense and moral conscience will prevail in them. For instance, if the Prime Minister is putting 1.5 billion over into Prime Minister's office, it is wrong. If figures do not add up, then it is wrong. If the true level of public debt has been concealed cunningly in this budget and falsified details have been given, then it is wrong. Or the easiest is, if important budget documents have not been properly prepared for the budget session, when the budget is the most important strategy of any government, then the clear conscience must come into play immediately to say that there's something wrong. Mr. Speaker, you've heard of this thing called, as the saying goes, there is no smoke without fire. So certainly there is a fire, and all this is happening. I call on honourable members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, to take heed that if these budgets are passed, then there is no use of MPs becoming wise after the destruction has been made to the economy. And you recall back the 1990s when PNG had to go 3 times to the IMF for rescue packages. Let's not go down this road again. Recklessness, careless spending out of the budget are dangerous things. Let's be wise and prevent economic destruction while we can, Mr. Speaker. This budget must not be accepted. This budget must be rejected. It is a hoax. It's a hocus pocus. It is a deception. Doesn't serve PNG, serves a few in power and their friends. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister for National Planning Charles Abel has defended the 2015 national budget, refuting the opposition's claim that it is a hoax. Minister Abel maintained the national budget was the combined effort of members of government and was a result of much planning. He added that it is the first time that the government's efforts are finally tangible.
Following the opposition's radical reply of the 2015 national budget and the 2014 supplementary budget, Minister Abel referred back to the Alotau Accord, where the current government and its coalition partners set an ambitious plan to rebuild the country.
And I can tell you, if there's one thing this government is guilty of, it's guilty of trying to get things done. And it's not easy. Yes, there's problems with procurement. Yes, there's problems putting budget together. But you know what? Things are happening in this country for once. Yes, we are guilty of free education. We're guilty of free health. We are guilty of rebuilding Moresby, yes. But why didn't it happen before?
Minister Abel said that in reality, things are starting to happen. He said mistakes were inevitable as the government was trying to be proactive. He said the 2014 supplementary budget should not be seen as a bad thing, rather an example of the government trying to be responsible.
It's not easy. The 2014 supplementary budget, rather than seeing it as a bad thing, to me it's an example of the government trying to be responsible. You see, we set those parameters. We set 5.9% deficit. We set that 35% debt to GDP. When circumstances started to change, we sat down, had a look at it, and we made a concerted effort to try and stay within those parameters.
Delhi Bagu, National EMTV News.
The finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3930 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3855, $0.4434 Australian dollars, $0.3065 euro, and 45.11 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, copra closed higher, gold, coffee and cocoa closed lower. palm oil, crude oil and copper all closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 7 points higher, the ASX closed 57 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 56 points higher. Climate change study in East Sepik, a Chinese fugitive deported and settlers in NCD threatened with eviction. These stories after the break. Welcome back to the news. East Sepik has been identified as one province most prone to floods through a study conducted by the United Nations Development Programme and the Office of Climate Change and Development. The study indicated that coastal flooding due to sea level rise is a continuous climate threat in the province. Over the weekend, a new climate policy that intends to educate communities on the importance of mangroves was launched by the national government and UNDP to address this issue. The conservation of mangroves was identified as one way of adapting to climate change, and the campaign plans to establish an early warning system for flooding. A risk assessment study will be conducted under the project to map out potential climate threats and identify solutions to deal with those threats. 51-year-old Chinese national Jackie Lu has been deported back to China. Lu sought citizenship in Vanuatu in 2013 after allegedly stealing millions of Chinese yuan. He came to Port Moresby and applied for a US visa, but his movements were detected by authorities, including police. Police say they will continue to work with their international counterparts to fight transnational crime.
This Chinese fugitive is alleged to have stolen 300 million Chinese yuan. That's about 128 million kina. Jackie Lu has been wanted for setting up an internet pyramid scheme through a company called Jade Global Investments. Through this scheme, he was said to pocket money from more than 10,000 Chinese investors. Mr. Yamasombi commented that this act is a classic example of transnational criminal border crossing.
Of the transnational criminals crossing borders, under the pretext of being genuine businessmen or people with money trying to invest in countries, but the source of them obtaining that money is by far fraudulent.
Lu came to PNG on November 13th this year and applied for a US visa at the American Embassy. Unfortunately, the US officials detected him through the Interpol's Red Notice list and alerted PNG authorities.
So they facilitated for his exit out of the country, and we got him repatriated back to China on Sunday afternoon.
Yamasombi said that a lot of these thieves are still on the run. However, Lu's arrest and deportation reflects our PNGC's ability to work together and share information with other police forces across the globe in the fight against transnational crime. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
The Department of Agriculture and Livestock has issued an eviction notice to 8 Mile residents in Port Moresby, but the settlement community there has rejected it. The settlers residing on DAL land in Moitaka, 8 Mile, said they respect the decision, but they want a win-win agreement.
Last Saturday, DAL officers went to the 8 Mile community trying to serve an eviction notice on settlers, but were rejected. There were about 300 settlers living on land belonging to DAL. The settler spokesperson, Andy Waribi, said they accept the decision taken by the title holder, but request DAL to provide a response to an earlier letter by NCD Governor O.S. Pakop.
Eviction notice will give him, and then Kapanam Plumipla been writing one letter requesting legally have grand block DA long losing one them long by rejoining project blame UDL program project blame by 8 Mile, and then later Kapanam been addressing long secretary long DAL.
Governor Pakop had written to the DAL secretary on 22nd August requesting a portion of the land be made available so these people could be resettled on Section 215. The governor's response comes after the first eviction notice issued by DAL on 6th August. However, DAL is warning those still settling on the land that they have until December to move out. The people are requesting their local MP, Labi Amayu, and Governor Powes Pakop to step in and assist with plan to convert settlements into suburbs sooner. Quinten Alom, National EMTV News.
Trukai Sports coming up next. We'll cross live to Lorraine Genia in Leh for all the updates on the PNG Games.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Jubilation this morning as 15-year-old Morobe kickboxer Miriam Tem defeated NCD's Helen Lovati in a dominant display of skill and speed. Tem's mother in Morobe colours danced ringside as the first-time fighter kicked and punched her way to victory in the women's 58 to 60 kg division.
Miriam Tem, the 15-year-old student, defeated her much older and experienced NCD opponent Helen Lovati. The first-time fighter trained hard for this fight. Today, it showed in the ring.
Training hard to come to fight to send me come na me fight na me win. Na me to thank you, coach Blooming or manager Blooming.
Miriam Tem was patient in both rounds and used good combinations to score points. As she fought her way to victory, her mother was part of the home crowd that began celebrations.
Thank you.
Miriam's father, Tem Elijah, believes his daughter can fight her way to the finals. Miriam is being trained by her uncle and the whole family are supporting.
I'm on the new plan, Mary. No, this is a fancy fight there. But no good plan fight, blame to so, no, team more of extreme inside, this is kickboxing fighting, sort of fancy game here. So me, I must no good plan first fight, I think finals, I think I go to Miluki Mosen. Thank you.
This comes after Morobe Kickboxing recruited and trained a young batch of fighters, most of them making their debut in this PNG Games. Today's rounds began with tactical knockouts in the men's 60 kg division. Fighters from the autonomous region of Bougainville proved too much for the East Sepik fighters. In this fight, the East Sepik fighter succumbed to a kick by the Bougainville fighter moments into the first round, causing a flare of emotions at the East Sepik camp. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV Sports, Leh.
In day 2 of netball, Central showed no signs of weakness as they took to the courts soaring over a defenceless Milne Bay side. Cool, calm and collected, the composed Central side thumped Milne Bay 66 points to 10.
In the first quarter, Milne Bay showed good competition and had the crowd second-guessing as they proved they earned the title as current defending youth champions. But maturity and experience gave Central the upper hand as Milne Bay was no match to Central's fast and tactical mid-court attack. Central eased into the first quarter with very little glitz and glamour, but fought back by the second quarter, taking the comfortable lead of 35 to 10. Goal attack and goal shooter Dokas Ilagi had the advantage of height as she was able to pivot around the goal mouth and take every opportunity to score for Central. Central lobbied passes back and forth and played tactical netball as they exhausted play by Milne Bay. Fatigue and stamina was evident with the Milne Bay girls as they struggled to get down to Central's receiving end in time to defend a number of goals. The girls dominated the court, intercepting 3 passes in the third quarter, which mentally gave them the strength to persevere to the last minute. Coach Lydia Valley was impressed with the girls' performances over the last 2 days.
We just trained for a week, and they're doing very well during this tournament, especially the shooting and the mid-courts and defending. They're doing very, very well, and I'm really happy about that.
Despite their 66 to 20 win over Milne Bay, Team Central prepares for the unexpected as they say they won't take any game lightly.
Team East New Britain is eyeing gold in rugby nines. They beat West New Britain 10-8 and made it into the finals tomorrow.
Despite their earlier struggles against NCD yesterday,
In Pool C, Central in blue and red striped thrashed Team Sundown. Despite the 32-0 loss, Sundown showcased a true sportsmanship. The Enga Eastern Islands match went right down to the wire, with Enga coming on top with a winning try just before the final whistle. Eastern Islands were disappointed at a close 12-8. The crowd favourites and home side Morobe took on Oro in Pool A division. Morobe in blue were quick to find the try line, but the boys from Oro bounced back with an equalizer. Morobe recouped and outclassed the visiting Oro in the second half, 12-10. In Pool B, NCD made it again by beating Team Western Islands. The unbeaten NCD side walked over the boys from Western Islands in a hard-fought 24-10 win.
All this time, I played rugby 9 representative team NCD. I've been selecting best player NCD. Now, salim plak kan moment. Me been prepared straight. All this months coming up now. Game me plak and play number 1 game one time. Number 1 game, number 2 game, number 3 game. Over ahead, me plak make him straight play win. So.
Western Islands fielded raw talents scouted from the Hagen Technical College, were let down by the experienced NCD side. However, Western Islands are hoping to come strong in future.
Thank you, Logata. Family, friends, Logata Lionel. Support me, Louis Bloom, Black Avanta, Flames. Take part in the PNG games. I'm like a game, Bloom, Black, competition, Bloom, Black, finish session. But me, Black, proud. Heads up, me, Black, God.
Team New Island Province edged out Team Ella 18-4, while Jiwaka defeated Team Millen Bay 14-6. Tere Alex, National EMTV Sports, Lay.
A team from the PNG Olympic Committee Athletes Commission is using the PNG Games to raise awareness on anti-doping, HIV and AIDS, and how to play a leadership role in the community. The team is encouraging athletes to come forward and be part of the campaign.
Over 200 athletes currently attending the BSP 6th PNG Games passed through the tent over the last 7 days. The theme surrounding the campaign is based on 4 components.
Looking at HIV and AIDS awareness through sport. Play True, which is anti-doping, so no drugs in sport, performance-enhancing drugs particularly. We're also looking at Love Your Coast, which is a sport and environment program, so the impact of plastics on the environment and your health. And Be a Leader, so looking at how athletes can be responsible and be leaders back in their communities.
The Commission, with the help of Team PNG athletes, have set up tents around the venues and disseminating information that will still be relevant in next year's Pacific Games.
Lead up to the Pacific Games is not only to educate athletes themselves, but try and motivate them and try and have them take a lead role in their own communities.
The Commission identified PNG Games as a direct platform to engage both unsung talents and elite athletes to be part of the Voices of the Athletes program. The program wouldn't be better with the assistance of the PNG Olympic Committee, who wants the athletes to be a role model and good sports ambassadors. The Commission is encouraging athletes to come forward and be part of the Voices of the Athletes program. Tere Alex, National EMTV Sports, Lay.
You're with National EMTV News. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
To some overseas sports now, and the cricket world is reeling at the news. Australia's opening batsman Phil Hughes is in hospital in a critical condition after being struck a fearful blow during a Shield match at the SCG. One of his best mates, former Test fast bowler Brett Lee, has just learnt of the news.
Family, friends and fans all in shock this evening. Brett, you're a very dear friend of Phil Hughes. How are you feeling, and indeed what was the reaction of the greater cricket community?
Well, look, it's shocking, isn't it? The first reaction was like horrible, scared, worried how he is, but you just don't think these things will happen in cricket. You know that, you're always on the edge of bowling fast or being out there batting, but when you see something as shocking as this, you just really feel for Phil.
You bowl some of the fastest balls we've seen in the modern era. Do you think about the dangers?
Well, of course you do, both with batting and bowling. And, you got guys that can bowl 150 k's per hour. The helmet's not a lot of protection.
He was rushed into neurosurgery. We saw Michael Clark, he's by his bedside. Have you spoken to anyone at the hospital?
Yeah, look, not really at the hospital, but I've spoken to a lot of guys that were there, and they're in shock as well. And the other person that will be in shock, other than the teammates or the type of stuff, is poor Sean Abbott. The guy that bowled the ball. Now, look, I know firsthand that no one goes out there to try and maim a batsman, no one goes out there to try and hurt a batsman. He's struggling from all reports. He'd be going through a real tough time now knowing that, because he's very, very close to Phil Hughes as well.
Well, tell us a little bit about Phil. You're very close. What sort of man is he?
Oh, look, he's just a lovable guy, 25 years of age. He's got his whole future ahead of him. A guy from the country, a banana farmer. He's a terrific guy. He's got a beautiful family. He's always played in the right spirit of the game, so he deserves the best. And that's why all of his teammates will rally behind this.
Well, thoughts and prayers with Phil tonight, and sympathies, of course, with Sean Abbott. And we appreciate your kind words in such a difficult time.
Thanks. Fingers crossed.
To rugby league now, and to the NRL, Cronulla's new CEO has warned the Sharks need to move on from the Asada scandal or risk remaining at the bottom of the NRL table. He says the club is starting from scratch.
Lyle Gorman built soccer teams the Mariners and the Wanderers from the ground up, so he'd appear to be the perfect man to drag the Sharks into a new era. Is this like starting from scratch?
Look, I think the business principles are fairly similar in terms of what I believe makes successful organisations, not just sporting organisations, and that is an absolute clarity of vision, values and culture.
The Sharks are without a major sponsor. Their brand has been trashed by the Asada scandal. Gorman says the key is putting the drama in the rearview mirror. Is the Asada chapter closed?
Look, it needs to be closed in terms of our day-to-day thinking, Danny.
How do you do that?
Well, internally, we just got to block it. I mean, I'm very happy to always take questions on it myself on a personal basis, but I've just got to tell our players and the coach that for us to go forward and to look forward, we've got to draw a curtain behind the past.
I speak to the players a lot, and I don't see that they can put that behind them as easily as you want them to.
No, I'm not being dismissive of it at all, and I appreciate greatly the challenge they've been through. So I'm not being at all trite about those comments at all.
It's scarred a lot of their lives.
And we've got to address that with them and work with them in terms of player welfare, mentoring and so on, reposition their focus on the game.
And that wraps up Trukai Sports segment for tonight. The weather details after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Port Moresby, possible thundery showers tonight. Showers tonight also in Daru. Evening showers in Kerma, showers in Alotau, and showers and thunderstorms tonight in Popondetta. To the Momase region, all centres, few showers except Ley. You can expect some showers tonight. To the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau, mostly fine. Few showers expected in Kavieng. Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka, you can expect evening showers. And to the Highlands region, all centres, showers, then morning fog. That has been the news this Tuesday, the 25th of November 2014. Pleasant viewing. Bye for now.